Tonight on Jet Gear, we take a look at the Nighthawk, a stealth bomber that looks like it was designed by a geometry teacher after a long night of drinking. And I'm going to tell you whether it's as good as the hype or if it's just a flying brick with an attitude problem. First things first, let's talk about the design. The F-117 looks like something out of a science fiction movie. It has sharp angles, flat surfaces, and a nose that seems to have been molded by someone who's never heard of curves. But it's not about looks. It's about one thing: stealth. Now, the Nighthawk's whole shtick is stealth. You see, the F-117 doesn't rely on cutting-edge radar jamming technology. No. What it does is simply not show up on radar in the first place. And that's because it was designed with flat surfaces and sharp edges, which are meant to deflect radar waves away from the aircraft, rather than bouncing them back to the enemy's radar. It's like the world's most advanced game of hide and seek, where the enemy radar is blindfolded. And the F-117 is the one that's good at hiding. This thing was a game changer when it entered service in the 1980s. And while it doesn't exactly have the kind of sleek, modern stealth that you'd find in an F-22, it was revolutionary in its time. But there's a little problem. And I'm not just talking about the fact that it looks like a rejected Transformer toy. Here's the thing: when you want to drop a bomb, that stealthy exterior has to open up. This is the F-117's bomb bay. And when those doors open, you're essentially throwing away all that clever radar-avoiding technology. Suddenly, the Nighthawk isn't quite so invisible anymore. And that's a bit of a problem when you're in a hostile airspace and your bomb is just sitting there, begging to be shot at. Speaking of bombs, the F-117 carries a range of ordnance, from laser-guided bombs to precision-guided munitions. It's got a payload capacity of about 5,000 pounds, but while it may have the firepower, you can't exactly call it versatile. This thing isn't doing dogfights. Its job is to fly in low, drop bombs, and then get out before anyone notices it was there. Sort of like a very expensive Ninja with a really loud engine. Ah, yes, the engines. And this is where things get, well, complicated. You see, the F-117 doesn't have the sort of ultra-quiet engines you might expect from a stealth aircraft. Instead, it's powered by two Pratt & Whitney F119 engines that are rather noisy for something that's supposed to be invisible. They're not exactly screaming, but when you hear one of these things, you know it's coming. The engines don't make it silent, but they do make it fast, flying at speeds of over 600 miles per hour. It's quick enough to outrun most threats, but don't expect it to win any speed records. And when you factor in its 10,000-foot ceiling, meaning it's designed to fly low and slow, avoiding radar and missile locks, it becomes less about speed and more about precision. So, what's the verdict? The F-117 Nighthawk is an aircraft that was ahead of its time. It's stealthy, it's precise, and when it first came out, it made the enemy see things they didn't know were possible. But, like a lot of great ideas, it's not without its drawbacks. The bomb bay doors that give it away, the engines that are a bit too loud for stealth, and the fact that it's not exactly the most versatile or maneuverable plane in the sky. Still, when it comes to dropping bombs with surgical precision, there are few planes better suited for the job. It's a flying brick, sure, but it's a flying brick that knows how to disappear when it matters most. And that's all for today. We'll see you next time when we review something that's not quite so loud. Maybe a helicopter or something, who knows?